This is LT Napora, and today we're going to go over GR2 Analyst. More specifically, we're going to go over the basics and fundamentals of GR2, getting you accustomed to what these tabs do at the top. That way you can understand how to use the program before we go into later modules on actually how to interrogate thunderstorms. So to start off, what is GR2? GR2 is a data visualization software that allows you to view radar data from all the WSR 88Ds that exist. Um, it can be a little confusing starting off. That's why we're going to go through the tab step by step to help you understand it. So to start, up at the top here, you see this File tab. When you click on it, it's going to have an Open function. So Open essentially allows you to view prior radar downloaded data and play it back through GR2. There's also Configure Polling. Now, Configure Polling is going to be one of the more important tabs to understand. So in order for GR2 to ingest its data, it needs a website to grab that data from. In this case, when you click on Configure Polling, it's going to show you where your level 2 sources are. For me, it's from Mesonet at Iowa State, but there also exists Air Force weather websites you can use as well. To add a website, it's fairly simple. You just enter the website into the polling directory and then you hit OK. To say you have multiple level 2 sources and you want to use one over the other, you just click on it and you would do move up and it'll take the top most source as its primary ingesting data. And that's the overview of how to configure your polling. Um, in order to see if your polling source actually works, you click on this little icon that's got the picture of the computer screen and the world in the background that says start polling. If it's working, you'll see a downloading thing at the bottom right, and when it's fully got all the data that it needs, it'll say the next update. Now, mine polls the website every 30 seconds to see if it's got new radar data. You can also change that in the settings itself. So when you've got the radar data up and going, a couple of things you can check to make sure that it's working is at this top right corner. So the first item you're going to see is the site itself. So it's KPUX. So we're looking at Pueblo's radar. You're then going to get timestamps. So our latest timestamp is 15/11/32Z. And then below that, you see your VCP that it's currently polling. So our VCP is 35, which you remember is for clear air mode, which makes sense because there's not a lot going on right now. It's clear skies. And then the next little icon you see is going to be the tilt, which is at 0.5, or the lowest elevation slice that the radar has taken. You can change your tilt a couple of ways. You can manually click on it over here, and that's just telling you that it's sampling higher and higher elevation slices. You can also change your tilt by clicking the up or bottom arrow on the keyboard. So up arrow goes up in elevation, and the down arrow goes down in elevation slices. If you wanted to loop the image, you click on this download recent data, and it's going to grab approximately an hour's worth of radar data for you to go through. And you'll see that it's downloading at the bottom right screen. And it'll take a little bit because it's quite a bit of data for it to go through, but you'll notice that it's done downloading that data when it goes back to next update. So now theoretically we should have about an hour's worth of data, and we can check that. Yep. So you can scroll through this data a couple of ways. You can do it one way by hitting play with the play button, and it'll automatically start playing it, and you can check the timestamps up at that top right. Uh, to change how fast the animation speed goes, you do view and animation settings. And you can speed it up by moving this to fast, and conversely, you can slow it down by moving this to slow. Pretty intuitive, pretty simple, and it's all personal preference on how quickly you want that to go. And again, that was in view animation settings. Now, you can also step through it without having it play by pressing the left or right arrow key on the keyboard. So, left key on the keyboard goes back in time, right key on the keyboard goes forward in time. For other ways to move around to the program, you can use the scroll wheel to scroll out or in. Pretty simple and intuitive. You can also hold left on the mouse to move around, and you can just move the panel that way. So again, you scroll in and out using the scroll wheel, and you pan left or right using the left mouse button. Going back to File tab, there's a GPS function that's primarily used if you're moving with GR, say you have a laptop. You can record your location. Save image is for if you come across a particularly interesting storm and you want to save the image of it in GR. You can save the entire window, which includes the tabs on the left and the right, or you can just save a picture of the radar image itself without all the UI elements in the background. And then the import tab allows you to import your place file settings. Now, what makes GR2 Analyst pretty unique is the amount of customization you can use as a user. So GR2 allows you to completely change how your place files looks. It allows you to change how your road settings look, your site settings look, your state county line settings. So if you wanted the county lines to be brown instead of these green outlines, you could change that. You could change your alpha tables, and you could also change your warning settings. And that's through the place file function itself. And then if you click on exit, it exits GR2. So View tab allows you to look at your animation settings, like I mentioned earlier. Allows you to do your color table settings. So like I was mentioning how GR2 offers a pretty amazing amount of customization. You can completely change how base reflectivity looks through the color tables. And to change that, you would just save your PAL file that you've updated and put it in the color tables. And then when you've got that file, you click on it, hit open, and it'll update it here. It'll do the category details, so like maximum value is 94.5, minimum value is -32, and the units is dBz. And then you can change base velocity all the way down through the products itself. So that's color table settings. You can change your cursor settings if you wanted, your de-alias settings, your icon settings, logo settings, smoothing settings, and warning settings. For the warning settings itself, just for some general knowledge, the severe thunderstorm warnings that the National Weather Service issues appear as red on GR2. If the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning, that appears as this sort of pink-purple box with two black lines on either side. If a reputable source reports that there's a tornado on the ground, so like a certified spotter or uh, law enforcement, then that tornado warning changes to include a tornado reported tag. And the warning box itself updates to have two solid thicker black lines on either side of the purple box. And then hopefully you never see this, but uh, if the National Weather Service issues a tornado emergency, which means that pretty much catastrophic loss of life and damage is expected with a tornado that's reported on the ground, they'll issue a fairly rare tornado emergency. And that's denoted by two black lines on either side and then a solid black line through the middle. And the warning server is from warnings.cod.edu, but there's also other sites you could add to that as well. Now, the site tab allows you to click on different radar sites. So one way you could do it is, say I wanted to look at Denver's site, I could just click on KFTG and with the left mouse button, and that'll automatically start ingesting in the new data. Uh, but say I wanted to look at New York's radar for whatever reason, instead of like clicking on each individual radar site all the way to the East Coast, a quicker way to do that is to go to Site, Select, and then it has all the radar sites you could select. In this case, I was talking about New York. So say Buffalo, you double click on it, and it'll bring you to KBuffs, or Buffalo's radar site. If you wanted to go back, you could do select and then click on Colorado's. Now, what's also handy is you could change the settings of it. So at the base function of GR2, its startup site is in Atlanta, Georgia. But that's pretty much useless for us, right? Because we're always met watching for Fort Carson. So our primary radar site is going to be Pueblo. So if Pueblo's not already your startup site, you can change it to be your startup site by clicking on the site settings, change, and then clicking on Pueblo itself, OK, and then it updates. Uh, Now say I didn't have Denver as my favorite, and I wanted to add Denver as my favorite. That's also fairly simple. You just click on the site that you want to favorite. You click on site and then add to favorites. And what that does now is every time you click on site, it's going to be a quick access bar, kind of like a favorite bar on an internet browser for Chrome or Internet Explorer. They also have a favorite bar on GR2. That way you can easily click between radar sites. So that is how you can change between radar sites. Uh, Another thing you need to be able to understand is how to add multiple screens to GR2. Because uh, sometimes when you're interrogating a storm, one screen just isn't going to be enough because on one screen you can only look at one product. And if you really want to aid in your warning decisions, you want to look at multiple screens to help you with that. And thankfully, GR2 allows you to do that fairly simple. To demonstrate multiple screens, I'm going to go to a radar image that actually has some fairly interesting returns on it. For those interested, this is El Reno's giant tornado that they got rocked by in 2013, I believe. So to get multiple screens up on GR2, what you're going to do is you're going to click on Windows, or sorry, uh, you're going to do Panels, and you'll have the option between one panel, two panels, or four panels. For say two panels, just click on two panels, and you can have uh, two different products up at the same time. So in this case, if I wanted, storm relative velocity on one panel, you click on it, and then you click on the product to change it. If you wanted a different product on the right panel, you click on the right panel, and then you'd click on the product that you wanted to see. In this case, I want to see base reflectivity in the left panel, and I want to see base velocity in the right panel. You can also add four panels. So it's similar. You just click on the panel you want, and then you change the product, and it'll update it. So with four panels, you can have base velocity on the left, uh, or base reflectivity on the left, base velocity on the right, storm relative velocity on the bottom left, and echo tops on the bottom right. And like I was saying before, it just adds in your decision making when you're thinking about issuing those warnings. So that is how you can change the number of display panels. Looking up at sort of the rest of these tabs at the top. So base reflectivity uh, it's just another way to change your elevation slices. So instead of clicking on it here or using the up and down arrow key on the keyboard, you can also click on it here and it'll show you the different elevation slices. And that's the same for all of these products at the top. Now for the derived products, you can click on that and it's a quick hot bar on seeing the latest derived products. And then for the algorithms tab, this tab at the top allows you to change the environmental data if you wanted to. It allows you to change your algorithm settings, so you can change your maxville dBz values, you can change your echo tops dBz values, and it also allows you to customize how it does MDA settings or like mesocyclone detection settings. And that's all through here. GIS is where you can load those shape files where I was talking about before. Panels, again, updates how many panels. So say I didn't want four panels, I could go back to one panel now. And the Windows just allows you to show, like, if you didn't want to see the color table window, I could click on that. If I didn't want to see the product tilt window, I could click on that and it'll get rid of the product tilt window, just adding more screen real estate. You could also do a show warnings window. If this was live data, these warnings would pop up in the active warnings box, and when they expire, what counties they are, for what state they are, and then what type, severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, flood warning. And then the help tab just allows you to access the online user guide. Now, for these bottom tabs, what we haven't talked about yet is right now we're in panning mode. So that means we can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel and click on the left mouse button to scan left and right. What they have also, one of what makes GR2 an incredible tool is you can do cross sections of supercells or thunderstorms, and you can actually look at the updraft. And we'll actually go into this in later modules for what it means, but for now I just wanted to show off that feature itself. Likewise, with this volumetric mode, you can see a 3D representation of a supercell, which is really cool with the data. Um, like looking at just this image, you can see here's your overshooting tops, uh, and then your updraft is right here. So it gives you a sort of virtual representation of the thunderstorm that you're interrogating. and that's with that volumetric mode. So I'll switch back to panning. If you didn't want, for whatever reason, to use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out, you could use this button to zoom in, this button zooms out, this button does zoom none. Now, uh, this button over here, which we'll go into detail later when we're interrogating storms, but this allows you to set a specific storm motion vector so it can more accurately calculate your storm relative velocity. And you just put that in like from whatever degrees to based on its knots, hit apply, okay, and then that'll update your storm relative velocity. And then as for these tabs over here, uh, this button allows you to smooth the radar data. So right now what we're looking at is just the raw radar image, and it has each pixelated DBZ value fitted in from the radar plotted. When you click on the smoothing button, it sort of smooths the image to make the image look a little bit nicer. However, important thing to keep in mind is when you do the smoothing algorithm, you lose some of the finer DBZ pixels. So like, for example, these three pink pixels over here, when I smooth it, kind of just turns into the smaller area. So that's just something to keep in mind. Uh, Smoothing can sort of gloss over some of the more finite points of a storm, but it makes it look nicer. And then the show radar data, you can click on it to remove the radar data if you wanted to and just to have a map view of it. And then you can click on it to have it pop back up. This icon will show the hail icons that the algorithm is outputting. Um, so in this case, this is outputting 2.73 inch hail. If you didn't want to see that, you just click on it to get rid of it. Likewise, the MDA icon removes mesocyclone detection if you found it annoying. Here, and then if you hover over it, it'll actually show the thresholds for each slice. And then this orange rectangle shows the local storm report icons. So local storm reports are vetted data that the National Weather Service receives, and then they output it. So in this case, there was a hail event of 1.75 inches uh, reported by the NSSL Shave Project. Likewise, hail reported by the Shave Project down in Hinton. If you didn't want to see that, you would just click on that, and it would get rid of the LSR icons. This shows precipitation type, and this is your panel settle center. And that's an overview of all the different tabs that you can see. Hopefully, this uh, quick sort of intro into the typology of GR and the knobology and all the different tabs, you now coming out of this with a greater understanding, or at least a greater first look at how you can manipulate GR2 to view data. Uh, Later on, modules will actually bring up case studies, and we'll go through each product and show how those products can assist you in your warning decision making process. But that's the end of this module for now. Thank you for listening.